In Acts chapter 1, Jesus is appearing to his disciples after his resurrection before he ascended into heaven. And one of the last things he tells them is that they are to go to Jerusalem and to wait. And I think that's a really interesting thing, that one of the last things Jesus commanded his disciples to do was to wait. You see, there's this thing about God where he invites us and commands us, and he tells us to wait on him sometimes. But waiting's hard. Waiting can be really challenging. But the thing about waiting is this: we all wait. I mean, there's things that we need to wait for or have to wait for. And waiting is not really an option. You're gonna wait. But how you wait, that's where you get to choose. You can wait impatiently, or you could wait very graciously. The disciples in Jerusalem, they waited. But then it's almost like they got a little bored and decided, well, we should do something. And it's like they took matters into their own hands, and they figured out, hey, you know what? We had 12 apostles with Jesus, and Judas has killed himself, so we're missing one. So let's cast lots. And they cast lots, and it fell to this guy, Matthias, who I'm sure was great, probably awesome, but we never hear about Matthias again. It's like God had totally different plans in mind, and they were plans that were greater than a guy named Matthias, but were outside the realm of what the disciples could have ever conceived. God had plans for a guy named Paul, the last person on earth they would have ever picked. You see, waiting when you don't really know what the outcome will be is tough. You know, I'd like to think that as we get older, waiting would become easier, but, you know, that's not always true. My oldest daughter has started waiting tables. Great job. She's working at a restaurant waiting tables, and she came home from work, and I said, hey, how's it going? How'd it go today? And she's like, oh, you know, everything was pretty good, but there's this one older couple who got really angry. I was like, well, what happened? She said, well, I greeted them right away, and I took their order, and they were very impatient, and they kept calling me over, and you know, they were like, where's our food, and it's taking too long. And she said, I was tracking it and went to the kitchen, and now I'm bringing out their food. And she said, it took 20 minutes. That was how long it took, which is actually quite a bit shorter than their average time. And the couple is walking out while she's coming over with the tray of food. I'm like, well, what'd you do? And she said, well, I said, what's going on? And they said, this took too long. And they kind of made a scene and stormed out of the restaurant. And I said, oh, that stinks. She goes, yeah, the worst part, she said, was they riled up the table in front of them. So now they thought it had been too long. And, you know, that's the thing, that impatience, it's kind of contagious. Well, she tells me that story right before I'm about to take my youngest daughter, Inslee, to Starbucks to get a coffee and hang out with her for a little bit. And so we decided to save a little time. I downloaded the app and put our order in so we could get there and just grab our drinks and sit and talk. But when we arrived there were like 10 people who were waiting for their mobile orders. And we're like, uh-oh. And it was tense and it was crazy. And the people were upset and aggravated. And I was like, okay, Inslee, we're just going to sit here and wait. Make the best of it. Talk and hang out. Well, the manager, you know, got half our order ready and said, oh, here's your order. And I said, it's only half our order. I'm so sorry. We'll make the rest right now. I'm like, take your time. It's fine. Then there was this other couple, a little bit older, and man, they were mad. And they started feeding off each other, and they got really hateful and really mean-spirited. And it was really nasty to watch. I felt terrible for everybody there because it was contagious and other people were getting more aggravated. And when it was all said and done, we got our order actually last out of everybody there. And they were so apologetic. We're like, we understand, no problem. And when we took our order, they also handed us 4 free drink cards. And I was like, oh, you didn't need to do that. And they're like, no, thank you for being patient. You know, I think about that with God sometimes. When we wait on him and we're patient with him and we're gracious in that waiting, there's a real great gift that comes with that. And it's not the gift cards, that was nice, but just that time even with my daughter was a gift as opposed to being a curse. And so waiting may be hard, but you get to choose. I mean, you're going to wait one way or the other. You just get to choose whether you're going to do it graciously or impatiently. So when you wait, wait well.